Mel Gibson just revealed something no one was prepared to say out loud. And once you connect all the dots, everything he said makes perfect sense. The real reason Mel Gibson was blacklisted from Hollywood and how Oprah controlled what went on behind the scenes is insane. In this video, we're going to look at everything Mel Gibson revealed about the inner workings of Hollywood and take a peek behind the curtains at what goes on when no one's looking.
It feels good. I mean, if you're 7 years old and somebody, which I was trying to say this to my friends who had children, you're 7 years old and someone is stroking your penis, it feels good. Right. Even though you don't have a name for what that is, it feels good. And when I first said this years ago, people were like, you're crazy, because everybody wants to believe it's like sexual assault and you're being thrown up against the wall and you're being raped. And I have said for years, if the abuser is any good.
Mel Gibson has been speaking out against what goes on in Hollywood since the 90s. Before anyone else was ready to speak up against the industry, Mel was already exposing everything. In one of his early interviews from back when he first joined the industry, Mel said that actually experiencing abuse and seeing executives groom young actors is what shocked him. Parents knew what was happening to their kids, but they didn't care. They would just drop off their kids at the director's office and let him do whatever he wanted. As long as the parents were making money, they completely ignored what their kids were saying.
When I came over here, I was in my mid-20s.
Right.
The first time I really came over here. You know, I had a whole bunch of weird paranoid suspicions about what the hell was going on because there was a lot of stuff I couldn't understand.
Right.
And nobody was really bothering to explain it to me.
They don't.
And and I formed a bunch of opinions about the town and about the people in it that were like, surely that couldn't be, because a whole place can't be like, you know, Weird Town, you know, where the stranger wanders in and all the people are in the bar and they all shut up when he looks at them and they tell you don't go into the house on the hill, and it's like that. And then you go away and you think, no, I was wrong. I mean, that's insane thinking. I'm paranoid.
After Mel started speaking out about this and actually naming the directors who were involved, the industry started to push him away. Unlike everyone else, Mel wasn't okay with the abuse. At the height of his career, Mel was the biggest name in the industry, but the second he started to speak out, suddenly allegations of abuse came out blaming him. Is it really just a coincidence that everyone who speaks out against Hollywood starts getting sued at the same time?
One of the most disturbing problems in our world today is human trafficking, and particularly the trafficking of children. Now, the first step in eradicating this crime is awareness.
I imagined that stuff. That couldn't be the reason for why so-and-so was acting like, could it? And then you find out later on the track that you are exactly on track with a lot of this stuff. Not specifically on track, but that you could, that some of your worst nightmares were real at the time, and you think, it does rip your life to pieces.
Does it?
If you'll let it.
Yeah.
And it's always pounding at the walls. It's these little guys, these little heathens with no soul downstairs with horns on their head with a battering ram trying to like beat your walls in.
Yeah.
But it doesn't take very long before you realize, or before it gets to you. It's cascading on you all the time. You can't get away from certain attitudes, from certain modes of behavior that this town and the industry dictate. And no matter how strong you are, when you come in off the farm with those convictions and a certain line of attack, no matter how strong you are going to be affected by this place. No, it's going to divert you from where you were going.
Sure.
You're going to be diverted. You'll eat yourself alive here. And I think it takes that kind of cockroach resilience to survive in this town. I mean, this is a bizarre place. The social contract. You can't get mad. You can't get mad. You can't let it get you, because you have to make a deal with everyone else, and it's almost unspoken that you are going to be over at some point.
I mean, as a matter of interest, do you think it's easier because you're an outsider who came in?
I think so.
Yeah.
Because it was glaring to me because I was an outsider who came in.
And who is the one person that Mel never worked with? Oprah. Mel had every chance to be on Oprah's show. And according to the producers, Mel was invited dozens of times, but he always declined. Meanwhile, everyone else was always on her show, and then this happened. In 2007 and again in 2009, the Oprah Winfrey Leadership Academy for Girls in South Africa faced allegations of misconduct involving staff members. Reports at the time stated that several students, some as young as 12 and 13, accused employees of inappropriate behavior and harassment. The school launched investigations, and certain staff members were dismissed or faced legal action. While the incidents drew significant media attention and criticism, additional claims and online rumors have circulated over the years that have not been substantiated by verified evidence.
The trial of a former dormitory matron charged with abusing 6 students at Oprah Winfrey School for Girls in South Africa is resuming. Prosecutors say former dorm matron Tina Virginia Makopo tried to kiss and fondle the girls. She's also accused of kicking and hitting some of them. Makopo pleaded innocent to 14 charges of indecent assault, and criminal injury in South Africa. Meanwhile, in Philadelphia, the ex-headmistress of the $40 million school is suing Winfrey for defamation. The suit claims someone would conclude from Winfrey's comments that the school employee knew of the alleged abuse and was actively involved in covering it up.
I was, needless to say, devastated and really shaken to my core.
Winfrey said she was disappointed in the former headmistress. The TV talk show host also made comments about students who felt there was an atmosphere of repression at the school.
And I spoke to all the girls personally, and I encouraged all of them, any of them who had actually been harmed, to please come forward.
Suddenly, Mel Gibson's distrust for Oprah started to make sense. The way that Oprah had been close to Jeffrey Epstein, Harvey Weinstein, and R. Kelly. It wasn't just a coincidence. At a certain point, it's a pattern. Seal actually exposed Oprah too. Even though he used to be friends with her, Seal said this.
3 days after Oprah publicly supported victims of sexual assault in the wake of numerous allegations against Harvey Weinstein, singer Seal Instagrammed this meme, showing Winfrey kissing the disgraced mogul. It reads, "When you have been part of the problem for decades, but suddenly they all think you are the solution."
Please welcome Seal!
The 54-year-old who's appeared on Oprah's show captioned his post, "Oh, I forgot, that's right, you'd heard the rumors, but you had no idea he was actually serially assaulting young starry-eyed actresses, my bad." While Weinstein maintains his innocence, Seal hasn't commented further, and Oprah has not responded.
This moment is a really powerful time for everybody to get woke.
Fans have come to her defense, pointing out Winfrey is a sexual assault survivor. They also posted pics of Seal's ex, Heidi Klum, kissing Weinstein too.
Oprah was caught on camera kissing Harvey Weinstein. Everyone in the industry knew what kind of person he was, but no one was prepared to speak out. Oprah gave him a platform, improved his public image, and provided him with hundreds of child actors. When Harvey was arrested, she tried to pretend like she didn't know anything about what was happening.
Let's talk about what's happening with Harvey Weinstein. I know you posted on Facebook already, but you haven't kind of spoken yet publicly about what's going on.
I think that this is, I'm always trying to look for the rainbow in the cloud, whatever is the silver lining. And this is what I do know for sure. When something this major happens, when you have the fallout, 50 women coming forward, that it's a watershed moment. And what I do believe is actually happening is that, first of all, it's triggering a lot of unreleased pain, repressed anger, guilt, and suffering that a lot of women have had. I happened to be on set with several actresses the other day, and we were filming some things, and they were like, hadn't slept over a period of 2 or 3 days, and I was like, what is that? I said, oh, you guys are suffering from PTSD.
And when you start talking about it out loud, too.
Everybody has a story. Everybody has a story. And so I think this is a watershed moment. We will have lost this moment. I think this is a moment where no matter what business you work in, there have been women who not only had the disease to please, that's a part of it, but who felt that in order to keep my job, in order to keep my position, in order to keep moving forward, I've got to smile, I've got to look the other way, I got to pretend he didn't say that, I got to pretend he didn't touch me. I think Those days are about to be over.
Are over. And if it happens to you back in the day, you would say, sometimes you're not even aware what he just said wasn't really inappropriate.
I know you've had a couple moments.
Where you just think, what did he just say?
Yes, I remember Gail had a moment when she came and said to me what somebody said that was so inappropriate. I was like, oh my God, you can sue over that. But
no, and all I said was, what did you say? And then they repeated it.
Yes. It's terrible.
I just sat there typing with my 20-something-year-old.
You pretend you didn't hear it.
Yes.
You pretend it's okay. You pretend you didn't.
No, it isn't. You're right, Jeff. You're absolutely right.
But a lot of women have been silenced, and I know.
But I do think it's going to change.
Being a victim of child sexual abuse, that when you feel like you cannot be heard, and then other people start speaking out, it makes you feel like, oh, now I can speak out too.
Yeah.
So,
and you've been speaking about it for
years.
Yeah.
Now guess who else Oprah was hanging out with? Diddy. You can't even make this up. Every time a new predator is exposed, the one person who is connected to all of them always turns out to be Oprah. Diddy's bodyguard, Gene Deal, actually testified that Oprah was present at all of Diddy's freak-off parties.
Because you know he was running with Oprah and them. He was running with that whole crew. Weinstein, Oprah, Epstein, he was running with that whole crew. They want to know how we're going to do it, how the public is going to take him. Is the public going to let him back in? And the public is not. The public is already canceling him. I don't believe the industry has canceled him yet. All those people who went to those Diddy parties, not one of them had came out and denounced what he has done. I haven't heard one of them. I have not heard one person denounce, well, man, let God handle it. Get the hell out of here. Get out of here with that. If that was your daughter, would you let God handle it? All those people, they ain't denounced him. They ain't definitely, they can't come forward and say, yo, I support him. Because it would mess up their brand. It would mess up their brand. Jay-Z, we the only one could call each other Sean. Jay is the only one could call me Sean. I'm the only one could call him Sean. Get the hell out of here. If that ain't no fun boy stuff. But you ain't had not one person, brother, not one person sit there, denounce what he did, or come forward and say, I support him.
People in the music and entertainment industry had to know that Diddy was like kids, basically.
The nutty conspiracy theories is like, oh, there's a bunch of pedophiles in Hollywood. And you're like, come on. You see like the Nickelodeon thing and all these, and you're like, what the
If someone's like a pedophile, they're going to go for a target-rich environment.
Like that Jimmy Savile guy from the UK.
Man, that guy was some next level. That was next level. That guy was one of the worst, like, basically child rape of all time.
And looked like one.
He looked like one.
Look, the creepiest
like
looking guy.
Evil child rapist.
Yeah.
That 100%.
He made it to the grave. Like,
yes.
Got away with it.
And here's the thing. This isn't new. Hollywood is plagued with pedophiles, and Mel Gibson has been trying to expose them for years. His most recent movie, The Sound of Freedom, was about this very topic. He pulled back the curtains on how it all works, the way minors are taken advantage of, and how parents are okay with it all.
From the beginning, you're going to feel the pain of the father taking his kids, who is approached by a recruiter saying, your kids can be models, they can be in movies. Father dresses in a suit, takes them to this room, and he takes the kids there. They're excited, put the kids in the room, and the girl says, come back to pick them up at 7 o'clock. He says, what do you mean? Come back to pick them up at 7 o'clock. He leaves, comes back 7 o'clock, no one's there.
Shut down.
That's how the movie starts. It's disturbing, it's emotional, it's tough, it's painful. At the end, Jim Caviezel gives a message. When the movie ends, 3 minutes later, he's given a message, profound message that you have to watch. The stats that they gave, that 20 plus million child pornography pictures were uploaded on the internet the last year, a 5,000% increase in the last 5 years.
As long as people are making money in Hollywood, They don't care what the kids are going through. You get paid millions of dollars for your silence, and they literally buy you to keep you in control. These predators trap other celebrities by offering them huge amounts of money, and if you accept, you end up falling under their control. This is how Oprah and Diddy became billionaires. A few years ago, Oprah tried to convince Dave Chappelle to accept $50 million, but he realized that this was just a trap. After Dave said no, Oprah made fun of him. At the time, no one realized why Dave was doing this, but now everything is becoming clear.
Comedian Dave Chappelle left tens of millions of dollars on the table when he walked away from his popular Comedy Central show. A lot of people wondered what the hell was he thinking, and that's a quote. Chappelle says he had, or whether he was thinking. A lot of people ask that question. Chappelle says he had a crisis of conscience and stood up for his integrity as an artist. He explained to us how stepping out of the spotlight helped him avoid getting caught in a trap.
It's so much bigger than money, though, Dave. It's so much bigger than money.
Oh, no, it was bigger than money. But you know what? I watched one of these nature shows one time, and they were talking about how a bushman finds water when it's scarce. And they do what's called a salt trap. I didn't know this. Apparently, baboons love salt.
Okay.
So they put a lump of salt in a hole, and they wait for the baboon. The baboon comes, sticks his hand in the hole, grabs the salt makes his hand bigger, and he's trapped. He can't get his hand out. Now, if he's smart, all he does is let go of the salt. Baboon doesn't want to let go of the salt. Then the bushman just comes, takes the baboon, throws him in the cage, and gives him all the salt he wants. And then the baboon gets thirsty. The bushman lets him out of the cage. The first place the baboon runs to is water. The bushman follows him, and they both drink to their fill. And in that analogy, I felt like the baboon. But I was smart enough to let go of the salt.
Isn't that a great analogy?
What an analogy!
I know. He's very, very thoughtful and very, very smart.
It was only after the victims started to speak out that people realized just how bad the problem actually was.
Had me over to the house of where these perpetrators in this ring kind of basically started. They pull me away for their threat sessions and tell me they have gaydar, they have this. At the end of the day, if you don't keep the members of this group happy, we control Hollywood, we can eliminate you, we will eliminate you. Threat after threat after threat. At the house it was, I've had drugs put in drinks, I had liquor poured down my throat from being, where there were rules in the house of no swimsuits, no clothes out by the pool area. I was numerous times in that house by numerous individuals, various types of abuse, all throughout that house. It was just something, you were like a piece of meat to these people, and they'd pass you around between them. It was, if I could define what that house was, it's evil.
After Mel was blacklisted and news about Jeffrey Epstein, Harvey Weinstein and R. Kelly started to come out.
The idea that there are sexual predators in power, not just in Hollywood, I think all across any place there's a boss with underlings in any corporation or any industry, you have a type of sexual politics that goes on that can slide in between appropriate ethics and decorum to inappropriate behavior to the point of harassment and predatory behavior.
Well, I think people understand that, but the larger question is there a culture of complicity in Hollywood where women are afraid to speak up because they'll be blacklisted, men are afraid to speak up because either they're out of the same fear or they just think, well, this is the way the system works.
I think there are people that say, hey, this is how it works, pure and simple, and this is why I got into it, and this is why I have power. This is how it works, and you have to understand that. That does not carry the day. Complicity is also complicity. The people who know, well, look, this is how we do business, and that's what it's got to be done. I'm sorry it's like that. So beware. That's also present, without a doubt, but it does not carry the day. There's also people that were afraid to speak out, who were victims, that did not go forward, that signed, negotiated.
Former child star Elijah Wood says Hollywood has a seedy underbelly of child sex abuse and that those responsible are being protected by the entertainment industry elite. Wood, who's been acting since he was 8, told the Sunday Times there are a lot of vipers in this industry, people who only have their own interests in mind. Wood compared the unnamed abusers to the British DJ Jimmy Savile, who faced dozens of accusations of rape and assault spanning more than 4 decades. Those claims were largely swept under the rug until after Savile's death. It's important to note that Wood's claims are unsubstantiated, but other child stars from the same era have made similar accusations in the past. In 2011, Corey Feldman said he and other child stars in the 80s were abused by people with a lot of power in the entertainment industry.
I can tell you that the #1 problem in Hollywood was and is and always will be pedophilia. There was a circle of older men that surrounded themselves around this group of kids.
Declining to give specifics, Feldman said a Hollywood executive is directly responsible for the drug and alcohol problems that contributed to the death of his friend and fellow child star Corey Haim. Wood said he was lucky to have a mom who protected him from abuse, but added, "I've been led down dark paths to realize that these things probably are still happening."
The real reason these actors were speaking out was because they were scared. Mel was teaming up with Tim Ballard to expose the child trafficking that goes on in Hollywood.
Call from Mel Gibson. He actually did the final edit of The Sound of Freedom. That's how we know each other, but not well enough that I'd be getting phone calls. And he told me that he was in Budapest at the time. This was right hours after the invasion, and he said he supports a bunch of orphans in Ukraine, and he was worried about them, and he asked if I could help get them out. So now I've got 12 from my wife, I got 13 others from Mel Gibson. And I'm thinking, okay, I got this list of kids I gotta get out. I told Mel, I said, you gotta help me. This is gonna be expensive. I won't ask you for direct donation, but can you help me film this? You know, let's film what's happening so we can get people to understand and they can support us. He said, no problem. He helped us get set up and started filming. 4 months later, what I thought was gonna be maybe a documentary about Ukraine ends up being a 4-part docuseries. It's almost done. It's being produced by DNA Films and executive produced by Tony Robbins. That's how crazy it got and how prophetic my wife was. When I showed up in Ukraine with a list of, I think, 20 names, the Ukrainians countered me and gave me over 10,000 names of orphans that they didn't know where they were because of the chaos caused by war. And more importantly, and more frightening to me, was the fact that I know that human trafficking is a $32 billion a year business. It's the fastest growing criminal enterprise in the world, and I also know how kids get forced into that market. And it's through vulnerable situations like in the aftermath of a hurricane, mostly in a developed country, or an earthquake, or in this case, a war. And so the traffickers call it harvest time. And that was the intel we were getting. And so we weren't just there to extract those kids, but look for leads. And it really was a miracle what happened. You know, it's one of these things that, you know, faith precedes the miracle. I take a lot of comfort in the fact that there's only one time in the scripture where Jesus gets mafioso. It's righteous because it's Jesus doing it. But if you listen to his words, it's mafioso. He says that it would be better for you to have a millstone cast about your neck and you thrown to the bottom of the sea than that you would hurt one of these little ones, my children. That's mafioso action, sinking someone to the bottom of the ocean. And Jesus said it. So I know where he stands on it, so I can expect, and we can expect, miracles when we're fighting to protect children.
Mel said that Hollywood doesn't want you to make movies on these topics. They want you to just be okay with it and move on.
But it seemed like there was resistance to that movie.
Oh yeah, no, there was,
which I thought was very strange. There was like Hollywood resistance to that movie. Like people didn't like that you were making it. It seemed like
there was a lot of opposition to it, and I don't know. I think if you ever hit on that subject matter, you're gonna get people going, because
of course
it's big subject matter, and it's like you know. And my contention is, you know, when I was making it, it was like, you're making this film, and the idea was that we're all responsible for this, that his sacrifice was for all mankind, and that for all our ills and all the things in our fallen nature, it was a redemption. So, you know, and I believe that, you know, I actually am. You know, I was born into a Catholic family. I'm very Christian in my beliefs, you know. So I do actually believe this stuff to the full. So depicting that was an honor, but it was also, you got the daylights beat out of you for it.
Yeah.
In one of his interviews, Mel Gibson makes it clear that Hollywood's sudden self-reflection came far too late. According to him, the industry only started examining misconduct once it became impossible to hide. For decades, allegations were ignored, buried, or quietly settled, as long as money kept flowing. But the moment lawsuits, arrests, and public outrage threatened the system, Hollywood rushed to pretend it cared.
I think it is moving forward. I think that light has definitely been shone into the dark regions, and it's painful, but it's a necessary thing for change. So there you go.
Do you agree, John?
Yeah, you can't help. It's an incredibly difficult thing to talk about in the context of a comedy interview.
Yeah.
Because there's very little that's comic about it.
Yeah.
You're seeing lives destroyed, but you're also seeing lives that have been deeply troubled for years, and this. And
it's kind of a tragic healing process.
It's a big upheaval. I mean, I've never seen Hollywood quite so shaken by anything.
It's a little late.
So we'll see how it all shakes down. Hopefully it clears the air a little bit.
Well, I mean, I think everyone's hopeful that this is like a real turning point, and that people are learning from this. People, it's, the only silver lining in all of this is that it feels like victims of this abuse are feeling safe enough and bold enough to come forward and tell their stories, and we need to continue to have more of that and eliminate it altogether.
Do you agree?
Mel Gibson wasn't just exposing abuse, he was exposing why Hollywood reacts so aggressively when faith, morality, and accountability enter the conversation. According to Mel, the industry doesn't just tolerate corruption, it actively resists anything that threatens its power structure, especially Christianity. That's why films like The Passion of the Christ were attacked before they even premiered. Anyone who stayed quiet was rewarded. And that's the real reason Hollywood is panicking right now, because the curtain is finally being pulled back. As more victims come forward and more insiders break their silence, one thing is becoming impossible to deny. This wasn't random, and it wasn't accidental. It was organized, it was protected, and it was profitable.